When was the last time you thought about yourself? Not your deadlines, not their opinions, not the weight of expectations, just you. The truth is unsettling. You've been living a life shaped by noise, not clarity. While the world shouts louder, you run faster, chasing approval, chasing perfection, and in the process, you vanish. You lose yourself the moment you start living for others. We weren't meant to exist like this, burned out, distracted, disconnected. So ask yourself, when did you stop being your own priority? This video isn't about comfort, it's about awakening. It's about reclaiming your focus, your silence, your power. The world doesn't need to understand your journey, but you do. And if you're going to get anything out of this video, just get that. That's all you need to know in life. Watch till the end. There's a powerful bonus lesson that could change the way you see everything. Number 1. Why you need to focus on yourself. How many times have you placed yourself last, hoping someone else would finally see your worth? You bend, shrink, adjust, trying to keep the peace, keep the job, keep the love. But what if I told you that this constant giving isn't kindness, it's self-abandonment? You are not here to orbit someone else's life like a forgotten moon. You are the sun, and it's time to rise. You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. That's not just a quote. That's a truth Buddhism has echoed for centuries. We often mistake humility for disappearance, but self-sacrifice without self-awareness leads only to quiet resentment. In chasing validation, we trade authenticity. In fixing others, we forget that the only garden we truly tend is our own. Buddhism teaches that before you serve others, you must first wake up to yourself. A grounded mind serves better than a scattered one. You can't pour tea from an empty pot. You can't offer peace when your own soul is starving. This isn't selfish, it's self-respect. Self-prioritization is not rejection of others, it's the reclamation of your center. So ask yourself, are you constantly giving to others at the cost of yourself? Are you chasing approval or your own peace? Do you want it enough to keep going when no one is clapping? Maybe you're healing from heartbreak. Maybe your career path feels like a maze with no exit. Or maybe, deep down, you're just tired of being invisible in your own story. Here's the truth. No one is coming to rescue you. No one is responsible for your healing, your growth, your joy, except you. The moment you start focusing on yourself, the entire universe begins to respond. Why? Because the moment you treat yourself like you matter, others start believing it too. Start small, wake up 10 minutes earlier, and breathe with intention. Set boundaries even when your voice shakes. Say no without explaining. Journal without censoring. And every day, remind yourself, I am not a background character in my life. You become magnetic not when you chase, but when you glow from within. Buddha once said, peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. In a world obsessed with noise, fame, and validation, your quiet commitment to inner clarity becomes radical. You're not here to be everything to everyone. You're here to be true to yourself. That is your offering. That is your purpose. So here's the mystery that shifts everything. What if prioritizing yourself is the most generous act you could offer the world? Because a fulfilled soul overflows. A whole person doesn't harm. A disciplined mind, anchored in peace, becomes a light for others lost in the dark. It's time. Choose you, every morning, every decision, every breath. Because when you rise for yourself, you rise for all of us. Stop shrinking to fit into places you've outgrown. Be your own priority. The rest will follow. 2. The power of silence. When was the last time you truly sat with yourself? Not with your phone, not with music in the background, not lost in a task, just you and your breath. In today's world, silence is mistaken for emptiness, boredom, or even danger. But in Buddhist philosophy, silence is sacred. Silence is not empty. It is the womb of all transformation. When the external world quiets down, the internal one begins to speak. Think of your mind like a muddy glass of water. As long as you stir it, scrolling, overthinking, rushing, the dirt stays suspended. But the moment you let it rest, the mud settles, and clarity rises. When the mind is silent, clarity begins to speak. That's not just poetry, it's a profound truth. Silence is your mirror. It doesn't lie, it doesn't distract. It shows you exactly what's inside when all the noise fades away. Maybe you're healing from a breakup that shattered your identity. Maybe you're lost in your career, surrounded by voices telling you what to do, who to be, how to live. Or maybe you're just tired of feeling stretched between expectations and your own forgotten needs. This is where silence comes in, not as escape, but as return. Buddhist meditation is not about running away from life. It's about sitting still long enough to see it clearly, to see yourself clearly. We often fear silence because in silence, the ego dies. And what's left? Raw truth. The version of you that isn't curated for the world, the one that doesn't perform, that doesn't chase, that simply is. In silence, your wounds speak, but so does your wisdom. In silence, your mind may tremble, but your soul begins to whisper. So here's the question. Can you stay in that space long enough to listen? Can you resist the urge to fill the void and instead let it fill you? Start with 5 minutes. Just sit. No agenda, no music, eyes closed. Let the thoughts come and go like clouds in a sky. You don't need to control them. You only need to observe. This is where mindfulness begins. This is how you reclaim your power, not by doing more, but by being more present. Buddha taught that liberation comes not through struggle, but through awareness. And awareness is born in stillness. Not the stillness of apathy, but the stillness of depth. A calm mind sees opportunities chaos cannot. A silent soul feels truths noise cannot drown. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, don't escape. Don't numb. Don't run. Sit, breathe, be. Because every time you return to silence, you return to yourself. The world will try to define you. But in the quiet, you'll remember who you were before the world told you who to be. This is the real work. This is the revolution. Silence is not the absence of power, it is the source of it. 3. How to stay disciplined. Discipline is rarely loud. It doesn't demand attention or ask for applause. It shows up in silence, early mornings, repeated steps, and quiet victories. Discipline is the bridge builder between intention and reality, brick by boring brick. It's what stands between who you are and who you're becoming. And in Buddhist philosophy, this is called right effort, the deliberate, mindful energy we bring to every choice. Better to conquer yourself than to win 1,000 battles. That one sentence captures the essence of discipline, because the hardest war is not against the world, it's against the inner pull of comfort, distraction, and delay. It's the fight to stay aligned when motivation runs dry. Discipline is not punishment. It is self-respect in motion. It's what you do when no one's watching, because you know your future self is watching. You say you want peace, you say you want healing, clarity, success. But let me ask you this. Are your daily actions aligned with your deepest values, or just your emotions? Emotions are fleeting. One moment you're inspired, the next you're tired, doubting, stuck. But discipline? Discipline shows up regardless. It's the friend who walks beside you when motivation leaves. Think of a Buddhist monk waking up at dawn, sweeping the temple floor. Not because the floor is dirty, but because the act itself is sacred. Habits become rituals when anchored in purpose. That's what makes the difference. You don't brush your teeth only when you feel inspired. You do it because it's part of who you are. The same applies to your goals, your growth, your healing. Make your consistency sacred. So how do you stay disciplined when everything in you wants to quit? You return to your why, not the shallow one, not "I want to look better" or "I want more money," but the deep why, the one tied to freedom, to peace, to purpose. In Buddhism, this is intention infused with right effort. You show up not because it's easy, but because it's aligned. If you're going through heartbreak or career confusion, discipline feels heavy. You want rest, not routine. But discipline doesn't drain you. It protects you. It becomes the structure that holds you together when everything else falls apart. Discipline tells your scattered mind, "I may feel lost, but I am still moving forward." Start small. Make one promise to yourself today and keep it. Wake up when you said you would. Write one paragraph. Meditate for 5 minutes. Do it not perfectly, but faithfully. Momentum will follow. Because the truth is, your life isn't shaped by what you do once. It's shaped by what you do daily. So ask yourself, what would your life look like if you showed up consistently, even when uninspired? The answer will change everything. Discipline is choosing who you want to become over who you temporarily feel like being. It is the truest act of self-love. In the end, freedom is not found in doing whatever you want. It's found in becoming someone you trust, one step, one breath, one disciplined act at a time. 4. Overcoming distractions. How many hours have you lost to scrolling, second-guessing, replaying conversations, and chasing things that never really mattered? It happens quietly. One moment of distraction turns into days, weeks, even years of delayed dreams and forgotten purpose. Your mind is a temple. Don't let thieves of attention steal your sacred peace. In Buddhism, the mind is not something to escape. It is something to train. The mind is everything. What you think, you become. That's not just philosophy, that's a warning. Distractions are not just external, phones, emails, noise. The real thieves live inside: fear, comparison, regret, craving. They disguise themselves as harmless urges, but they slowly erode your clarity. You start your day with intention, but end it in exhaustion. You want to grow, but your attention is scattered across 1,000 meaningless things. In Buddhist practice, monks don't eliminate distraction, they notice it. And then they return to the breath, again and again. That is the practice, not perfection, presence. Maybe you're trying to recover from heartbreak or start fresh after a setback. Maybe you're stuck in a cycle where every time you try to move forward, something pulls you away. Another notification, another worry, another fear. The truth is, you don't need more time, you need more focus. Attention is your most sacred currency, and where it goes, your energy flows. You don't lose life in one grand moment. You lose it in small stolen seconds that never return. So here's the question. What distractions are stealing your life without you noticing? Can you train your mind to become your servant, not your master? Start with awareness. The moment you feel pulled away, pause, don't judge, Just breathe. Name the distraction. That naming creates space. That space creates choice. That choice brings power. Buddhist teachings call this mindfulness, the art of returning gently but persistently to the present. Every time you do it, even once, you reclaim yourself. Build small rituals, set times to disconnect, create moments of intentional silence, read without checking your phone, walk without headphones, eat without multitasking, not because you have to, but because your peace is worth protecting. In a world screaming for your attention, your ability to focus becomes your greatest rebellion. Every time you resist reacting to noise, you build inner strength. Every time you choose your breath over your browser, your growth over your gossip, your purpose over your impulses, you become more powerful. You are not the thoughts flying through your head. You are the awareness watching them. And that awareness can choose. Don't just consume life, create it. Choose what enters your mind like you choose what enters your home. Guard it, honor it, focus it. Because the life you want to live won't be built through scattered attention. It will be built through deliberate presence. Train your mind like a monk. Live with fierce clarity. And remember, freedom isn't found in doing more. It's found in doing what matters, deeply. You are not your distractions. You are the one who overcomes them. 5. Let your success speak. Everyone wants to be seen, to be praised, to be recognized. But the truth is, not all growth is visible, and not all progress needs an audience. In Buddhist philosophy, the highest victories happen within, in silence, without the need for applause. The bamboo grows in silence for years before it shoots up overnight. Underground, it builds a root system so strong, so stable, that when it finally rises, it does so with unstoppable force. Can you be patient enough to let your roots grow? When you're rebuilding yourself after heartbreak, after failure, or after losing your sense of direction, the urge to prove yourself is loud. You want to show the world you're okay, that you're thriving, that you've moved on. But Buddhist wisdom reminds us, work out your own salvation. Do not depend on others. You don't need the world to validate your worth. Your work is your voice. Your discipline is your message. Your results are your proof. Real transformation doesn't announce itself. It happens when you choose self-control over reaction, when you show up day after day with no one watching, when you choose peace over attention, purpose over performance. And that's hard, especially when the world moves fast and everyone seems to be broadcasting their highlight reel. But let me ask you, are you driven by validation or transformation? The person who speaks the loudest about their success often hasn't built it yet. True power walks quietly. It doesn't need to shout, because it knows. It trusts the process. In Buddhist monasteries, monks spend years in silence, training their minds, mastering their thoughts, planting seeds of wisdom no one else can see. And when the time is right, those seeds bloom, and they bloom strong. Humility isn't weakness, it's stability. It's choosing to grow without needing to prove. Let your work speak louder than your words. Let your habits speak louder than your posts. Let your calm speak louder than your anxiety. That's how you build real power, not through noise, but through depth. So can you stay silent while your roots grow deep beneath the surface? Can you be so focused on becoming who you're meant to be that you stop needing permission to be her or him? Start today. Work on your goals not to impress, but to evolve. Study in silence. Heal in silence. Build in silence. Because success built in stillness is success that lasts. And when the time comes to rise, rise like the bamboo. Strong, unshaken, effortless. Not because you forced it, but because you were patient, present, and consistent. You don't have to scream to be powerful. Let your presence speak. Let your growth whisper. Let your peace make the noise. Remember, true strength is silent until it's undeniable. The world doesn't need to hear your plan. It needs to feel your impact. 6. Heal your inner world first. You can read every book, chase every goal, meditate every morning. But if your inner world is in chaos, nothing will truly feel like peace. A cracked bowl cannot hold peace. Heal the cracks before pouring more in. We often think we need more success, more love, more validation. But what we really need is wholeness. And that begins inside. Buddhism reminds us that pain is part of life. But suffering, that's the story we keep telling ourselves. To understand everything is to forgive everything. And forgiveness begins within. Most people don't slow down long enough to listen to the wounds they carry. They mask heartbreak with hustle. They avoid silence because it forces them to face what's been ignored. But you can't run from yourself forever. The pain you avoid becomes the pattern you repeat. Unhealed anger becomes control. Unprocessed grief becomes numbness. Unseen trauma becomes self-sabotage. You keep asking why life feels stuck, but the truth is, your healing is the dam blocking the flow. Buddhism teaches that healing is not passive. It's not waiting for time to fix it. Self-healing is radical responsibility. No one can meditate, breathe, or grow for you. You must sit with the discomfort. You must walk into the fire of your feelings with open eyes. Not to be consumed, but to be cleansed. Your peace begins where your denial ends. Ask yourself, what pain are you avoiding that's blocking your growth? Maybe it's a heartbreak you never fully allowed yourself to grieve, a betrayal you stuffed away, a version of yourself you still blame. These aren't obstacles to your progress. They're invitations. Each wound is a doorway back to wholeness if you're brave enough to enter. This journey is not linear. Some days you'll feel like you're healing, others like you're breaking all over again. That's okay. Growth is messy. Healing is loud in the beginning and silent in the end. Just like a storm, it rages before the calm. And in Buddhism, storms are not the enemy. They're the cleanse. They reveal what was buried. They soften what was rigid. Start small. Sit with your emotions. Journal what hurts. Breathe through the ache. Give yourself the compassion you've spent years giving to everyone else. Not because you're broken, but because you deserve to be whole. This isn't about fixing yourself. It's about remembering that you were never truly shattered, just lost under layers of protection. Let those layers fall, one truth at a time. What if healing yourself is the key to unlocking your next level? What if everything you're chasing, clarity, confidence, connection, is waiting behind the wall of unprocessed pain? You don't need to be perfect. You need to be present, to feel deeply, to release bravely. The strongest people aren't the ones who feel nothing. They're the ones who feel everything and keep going. So pause, look within, heal the cracks. Then pour your energy into becoming who you were always meant to be, unapologetically whole. 7. Stop seeking approval. You weren't born to shrink so others feel comfortable. You weren't meant to live like a mirror, only reflecting what others want to see. Yet somewhere along the way, we all begin to perform, smiling when we're broken, agreeing when we disagree, hiding our truth in exchange for applause. But a lion never asks the sheep to clap when it roars. In Buddhism, both praise and criticism are seen as distractions, forms of attachment that pull us away from inner stillness. Peace comes from within. do not seek it without. Because the moment your worth depends on someone else's opinion, you've handed them the key to your peace. It begins subtly. A compliment feels good, so you try to repeat the behavior. A harsh word stings, so you adjust yourself to avoid it. Slowly, you become a character in someone else's play. You stop asking, "What's true for me?" and instead wonder, "What will they think?" But Buddhism teaches us to notice the illusion. When you seek validation, you are not connecting, you're performing. You trade authenticity for acceptance, truth for approval, freedom for fitting in. Ask yourself honestly, who are you performing for and why? Is it your parents' expectations, society's definition of success, social media's curated praise? And at what cost? Because every time you abandon your voice to please others, you lose a part of yourself. You become what the world wants and forget what your soul needs. But there's another path, the path of stillness, the path of self-trust. In Buddhist practice, the goal is not to suppress desire, but to become aware of it. To see clearly how chasing likes, validation, and external praise becomes an endless cycle. You are already whole. Nothing outside you needs to confirm it. Just like the sky doesn't need permission to hold the stars, your worth doesn't need confirmation. You exist. You breathe. That alone is enough. Let go of the need to be liked. Let go of the need to be understood. Some people will never understand your growth because it challenges their comfort. That's okay. Not everyone deserves front row access to your transformation. What matters is that you approve of who you're becoming, that you can sit in silence and feel proud, not because others say you're enough, but because you know it deep in your bones. So what if you no longer needed permission to exist boldly? What would your life look like if your choices were no longer filtered through fear? This is your chance to find out, to walk away from the claps and critics, to stand tall in your truth, even when it's quiet, especially when it's quiet. Let them think what they want. You're not here to impress, you're here to become. And the moment you stop asking for approval, you start living with power. Because when you no longer chase validation, you begin to walk the path of freedom. And that is the most fearless act of all. 8. Choose what to care about. Most people are exhausted, not from action, but from over-attachment. You care about your job, your friends, your reputation, your failures, your past, your future, your looks, your likes, your critics. It's like trying to hold water in your hands while chasing the river. The wise archer doesn't shoot at every noise, only the true target. Buddhism teaches, attachment is the root of suffering. But this doesn't mean stop caring. It means care mindfully, not mindlessly. Because when you care about everything, you lose sight of what actually matters. Imagine your energy as a currency. Every time you worry about someone's opinion, every time you try to control outcomes or compare your path to someone else's, you're spending your energy where it brings no return. It's spiritual debt, and the interest is your peace. Detachment is not cold-heartedness. It's the discipline to protect your inner world. It's choosing where your heart belongs and where it doesn't. Take a breath and ask yourself, are you emotionally invested in what drains you? Are you giving away your attention to people who wouldn't even notice if you disappeared tomorrow? Are you trying to fix problems that aren't yours to carry? One of the core insights of Buddhist philosophy is this: you are not here to save everything. You are here to awaken. And awakening requires clarity. Clarity begins when you shrink your circle of concern and grow your circle of influence. You don't need to argue with strangers on the internet. You don't need to win every debate. You don't need to carry the emotional chaos of people who refuse to grow. Let that go. Let them go. If it costs your peace, it's too expensive. Your peace increases when your attachments decrease. So, what can you release today? What 3 things can you stop caring about to reclaim your energy? Maybe it's the fear of being misunderstood. Maybe it's someone's silence. Maybe it's the guilt from saying no. Whatever it is, drop it like a stone in a still lake and don't look back. Real peace doesn't come from fixing everything. It comes from choosing what's worthy of your care. In Buddhism, detachment is active. It's the decision to be so clear in your values that distractions lose their power. The monk doesn't meditate to escape the world, but to return to it with clarity. You are not weak for walking away. You are wise for choosing your battles. You are powerful when you realize not everything deserves your energy. Care deeply, but not widely. Protect your peace like sacred ground. The moment you stop scattering your care, you start focusing your power. And when you choose what to care about, you reclaim your life. 9. Detach from ego. The ego whispers, you must be more. Prove yourself, be seen, be praised. And in chasing that illusion, we forget we were already whole. The ego is a shadow pretending to be the sun, loud, restless, always hungry for attention. But have you noticed? The more you chase validation, the emptier you feel. The more you build your worth on titles, status, or appearance, the more fragile your peace becomes. In Buddhism, the teaching of non-self isn't about becoming no one. It's about realizing you were never just this name, job, face, or story. You are more than what you cling to. Think about this. What identity are you clinging to that keeps you small? Is it the perfectionist, always needing to get it right, the achiever, never resting, the victim, trapped by old pain? The ego creates these roles and convinces you they are who you are. But they are only masks. Beneath them is your true self, calm, boundless, free. Ego says, I am what I do. Wisdom says, I am. Ego fights to be right. Wisdom listens. Ego seeks control. Wisdom lets go. It's not easy to let go of the image you've spent years curating, especially in a world that rewards loudness over stillness, speed over presence. But true power arises when you stop defending an illusion. You become unshakable when nothing external defines you. Imagine the freedom of not needing applause, of being so rooted in who you are that you can walk away from arguments, comparisons, and expectations, not in defeat, but in clarity. So ask yourself, who are you when no one is watching? That's the version that matters. That's the person who deserves your devotion. When you detach from ego, you stop performing and start living. You become more focused, more compassionate, more honest. You no longer waste energy pretending. And that energy, it goes into your growth, your healing, your inner strength. The Buddha said, "No one saves us but ourselves. We ourselves must walk the path. And the path begins when the mask falls. The ego will resist, because ego survives on noise. But you're not here to survive your life. You're here to live it, to rise beyond fear, praise, failure, and success. You are not your wins or losses. You are the awareness behind them. Let go of who you think you should be. Let go of the need to impress, explain, or prove. The less you cling, the more you are, because only when the ego dissolves can your light shine fully, quiet, steady, and free. 10. Make peace with the process. The journey of growth is rarely fast or loud. It's subtle. It's like watching a mountain rise, quietly, one layer at a time, until it stands tall, touching the sky. You can't rush a mountain, and you can't rush your growth either. Yet, how often do we try? We measure our progress against others, against arbitrary timelines, against an idealized version of ourselves that doesn't even exist. We look at others and wonder why we're not as far along, why we're not as successful, healed, or together. But the truth is, your path is uniquely yours, and it's unfolding exactly as it should, if only you could trust the process. Buddhism teaches us a simple yet powerful truth. Patience is power. Rushing only creates suffering. Think about the last time you tried to force something, an idea, a relationship, a job, and felt it slip through your fingers because it wasn't meant to happen on your timeline. The universe moves in its own rhythm, and when we try to speed things up, we miss the lessons, the growth, the quiet moments of transformation. Mountains don't grow overnight. They rise slowly, steadily, with purpose and time. So does your growth. Your emotional healing, your career success, your journey to self-love, all of it takes time. But like a mountain, when it does rise, it stands unshakable. The process, though, is where we often get stuck. We want results now. We want validation now. But that's not how it works. Inner transformation doesn't always show up in immediate, visible ways. Sometimes it's like a jug filling drop by drop. You may not see the progress today, but every small step is contributing to something much greater. The challenge is to make peace with the in-between, to accept where you are and trust that the seeds you've planted are growing, even when you can't see them. Each day you choose to work on yourself, you are moving closer to the version of you that you envision. It may not be visible yet, but it's happening. Are you measuring your growth with someone else's ruler? In a world so obsessed with comparison, it's easy to think you should be further along. But the only measure that matters is your own. Don't compare your journey to anyone else's. Your story is unfolding uniquely, and every moment you spend in the process is a moment you should honor. You are allowed to grow at your own pace. You are allowed to be in the in-between without rushing to the end. Can you love yourself in the waiting? Can you accept where you are, not as a failure, but as a necessary part of the journey? Because this waiting, this uncertainty, is where the magic happens. Trust the process. Keep planting those seeds, watering them, and letting go of control. The universe has its own timing, and when the time is right, your efforts will bear fruit. Just like the mountain, you will rise, stronger, more resilient, and more beautiful than you ever imagined. And when you look back, you'll realize it was never about the destination. It was always about who you became along the way. 11th, act without attachment. There's a story of the wind, moving freely through the world, never clinging to the trees it touches. It moves, flows, and leaves no trace except the ripples in the air it passes through. This is how we are meant to approach life, acting without attachment. In Buddhism, we learn that attachment to outcomes, to rewards, to recognition, clouds our ability to be fully present. The secret to living a life of fulfillment and peace is to act without attachment, to focus on doing good simply because it is who we are, not because of what we might receive in return. Consider this. How often have you worked hard for a goal, only to find that when you finally reach it, the feeling of success is fleeting? It's as if the reward isn't enough to fill the void, and you're left wondering, what now? This is the trap of attachment. When we work for a specific outcome, whether it's praise, a promotion, or an external marker of success. We bind ourselves to that outcome. But true fulfillment comes when we do things because they are aligned with our values, because they reflect who we are at our core, not because of what we will get in return. Imagine for a moment a life where you were free from the constant chase for approval or validation. What would you create if no one ever saw it? What would you accomplish if there were no applause waiting at the finish line? This is the true power of acting without attachment. When your intention is pure and your heart is set on doing good, you are already fulfilled in the process. The work itself becomes its own reward. It's not about the results or recognition. It's about the joy of doing something that aligns with your deepest values. Buddhist philosophy teaches us that in karma, it is the intention behind our actions that matters more than the result. We might not always control the outcome, but we do control our intention, and that is where true power lies. When we let go of the need to control everything and simply focus on doing our best in each moment, we free ourselves from the exhausting cycle of desire and disappointment. This doesn't mean we stop working hard or striving for excellence. It means we shift our mindset from a goal-oriented, result-driven approach to a process-oriented, intention-driven one. When you focus on the process instead of the product, you find joy in the journey. It becomes less about achieving and more about being. You are no longer dependent on external rewards to validate your worth. The real reward comes from the peace you feel when you are fully aligned with your purpose, giving your best simply because it is who you are. Ask yourself, what would I do if no one ever saw or praised it? The answer to that question is where you'll find your true path. Can you love the process, the quiet moments of effort and growth, more than the product, the end result? Because when you learn to love the act of doing, you'll realize that the journey itself is what fills your heart, not the destination. Bonus lesson. Be ruthlessly kind to yourself. There's a quiet truth that many of us forget. You cannot bloom while punishing your own roots. Just like a plant that struggles to grow in harsh soil, you will struggle to reach your potential if you are constantly at war with yourself. Self-compassion is the key to nurturing the very foundation of who you are. In Buddhism, this is a radical act, to be ruthlessly kind to yourself. It's the understanding that healing begins not in harshness, but in gentleness. When you treat yourself with compassion, you create space for growth, just as a seed needs care and patience to sprout. How often do you criticize yourself for not being enough? How frequently do you push yourself, expecting perfection, only to feel defeated when you fall short? This is the trap of self-criticism. It paralyzes your progress. Shame can feel like a heavy weight that keeps you stuck in the past, in your mistakes, in what you didn't do. But Buddhist wisdom offers a different way. You can choose to work hard from a place of love, not from hatred or frustration. Growth, true growth, comes from self-love, from recognizing that your journey is not a race, but a sacred unfolding. In the pursuit of success, many of us forget to honor the small victories. We rush past our progress, focusing only on the next big thing, the next challenge. But what if the key to becoming your best self wasn't about pushing harder, but about forgiving yourself? What if your ability to begin again, and again was the secret to long-term success? Self-compassion isn't about being weak or lazy. It's about acknowledging that you are a human being on a journey, learning, evolving, and sometimes stumbling. Every setback is simply an opportunity to recalibrate, not a reason to give up. Imagine treating yourself the way you would treat someone you deeply love. Would you scold them endlessly for their mistakes? Would you expect them to be perfect all the time? Of course not. You'd encourage them, support them, and remind them of their strength when they falter. Why not extend that same kindness to yourself? Buddhism teaches that self-compassion is a superpower, one that transforms the way you approach life. When you are kind to yourself, you remove the barriers that shame builds, and you open the door to self-improvement and emotional resilience. So, ask yourself, do I treat myself with the same kindness that I would offer a dear friend? What if your softness, your gentle acceptance of your imperfections, became your new strength? Imagine how much more powerful you'd feel if you let go of the need for self-punishment and instead focused on nurturing your potential with love. Self-compassion doesn't mean complacency. It means recognizing your value and honoring your journey, no matter how imperfect it may seem at times. This is your reminder. You deserve your own love as much as anyone else in the universe. And when you start treating yourself with that love, you'll find that the roots of your being will grow strong and you'll bloom in ways you never thought possible. Quick summary of the principles. Why you need to focus on yourself. Your life starts changing when you stop pouring all your energy into others and begin investing in your own growth. Self-prioritization isn't selfish, it's essential. You become more powerful when your energy returns home. Inner strength can only develop when you are your own priority. The power of silence. Silence allows the mind to reset and reflect. In the stillness, you can observe your truth without judgment or noise. Regular silence clears confusion and reconnects you with your deepest self. All wisdom begins where noise ends. How to stay disciplined. Discipline is a commitment to your higher self, not a punishment. You grow stronger every time you act based on purpose rather than mood. Consistency builds identity. Self-discipline frees you from regret and keeps you aligned with long-term peace. Overcoming distractions. Every distraction weakens your presence and your power. A focused mind is rare, and in that rarity lies true peace. Buddhism teaches returning to your center again and again. Your attention is your freedom. Protect it. Let your success speak. True power doesn't announce itself, it radiates. Instead of seeking validation, invest your energy in growth. Let your results whisper louder than your words. Silent success is the most dignified form of strength. Heal your inner world. First, unresolved emotions create chaos in the outer world. Until you face your pain, peace will remain temporary. Healing begins with radical self-honesty. You must clean the lens through which you view life. Stop seeking approval. When you seek constant approval, you lose authenticity. Real confidence is built on knowing, not needing. Your worth isn't determined by applause. It's your birthright. Detachment from validation brings true inner power. Choose what to care about. Caring about everything is exhausting. Choose your emotional investments wisely. You don't need to fight every battle, only the meaningful ones. Inner peace is about knowing what to hold and what to release. Detach from ego. Ego thrives on image, comparison, and control, but none of these lead to lasting joy. Your real self exists beyond titles and roles. Letting go of ego brings clarity, peace, and authentic connection to life. Make peace with the process. Progress is often invisible, but it's still real. Don't rush your transformation. Trust the unseen growth that is shaping you. Patience with the process is a spiritual strength, not weakness. Act without attachment. Buddhist wisdom teaches, focus on the action, not the result. Let your efforts be an expression of your values, not your desire for reward. When you let go of outcome obsession, you gain true freedom. Be ruthlessly kind to yourself. Growth doesn't require cruelty, it requires compassion. Self-love isn't laziness, it's the fuel of all transformation. When you stop punishing yourself, you create space to evolve. Forgiveness is the most powerful form of self-discipline. There comes a time when you must stop waiting for the right moment, the perfect motivation, or someone else's approval, and finally take control of your life. You've given enough of your energy to distractions, doubt, and fear. The rules of life are simple. Either you choose your path, or life chooses it for you. That's why focusing on yourself isn't just powerful, it's necessary for peace. In Buddhism, we learn that transformation doesn't happen through noise and chaos, but through consistent, quiet choices. The path is internal. Your discipline, your silence, your ability to heal, detach, and grow, that's what reshapes your reality. Power is not about dominating the world, it's about mastering your own mind. Each principle you just explored is a gateway to freedom. But knowing them isn't enough. They must be lived daily, consciously, and unapologetically. Life will test you. Your distractions will seduce you. But only by returning to yourself can you escape the prison of comparison, approval, and regret. Take this moment seriously. Take yourself seriously. You were not born to be lost in the crowd or serve someone else's purpose. You are here to rise, to center yourself, and to walk forward with unshakable clarity. Take control, not through force, but through focus. Begin again and again and again. The way is not in the sky, the way is in the heart. Like and share this video, comment your thoughts below. What principle struck you the most?